Everyone talks about the power of data-driven instruction, but what does that actually look like? Look no further than iExcel, the ultimate online learning and teaching platform for K to 12. iExcel gives you meaningful insights that drive real progress, and research can prove it. Studies in nearly all 50 states across the US show that schools that use iExcel outperform other schools on state tests. Educators who use iExcel love that they can easily see how their schools are performing in real time to make better instructional decisions. And iExcel doesn't stop at just data. iExcel also brings an entire ecosystem of resources for your teachers with a complete curriculum, personalized learning plans, and so much more. It's no wonder that iExcel is used in 95 of the top 100 school districts. Ready to join them? Visit iexcel.com/PM to get started.
You're listening to Monday Matters, a Principal Matters podcast production.
Hi, friends. This is Will Parker back with my co-host, Dr. Jen Schwanke, for another Monday Matters. Jen, it is March. It's March. Can you believe it?
I know. I don't know what's happening.
I don't either. Like, how did we wake up and like we're already in the spring semester, and some folks are getting ready for spring break, and oh my gosh, that means that like the end of school is like, you can see that finish line down there, but it feels so far away. Each Monday when you and I pull together, we try to think about something we're currently learning. Our flagship shows on Wednesday are for our guests. So thank you, anyone who listens to both our Monday and Wednesday shows. I wanted to bring a topic of conversation to you this week about what are the lessons that we've been learning in coaching leaders, because I was doing some reflection this week and just realizing like, wow, I've been doing this a while now. And so have you. Both of us have moved into support roles, even though we call this podcast Principal Matters, it still is. And I don't feel like I'll ever be able to give up my identity as a principal. We've spent almost just as much time supporting principals now as we were principals. That's crazy to me. And so I was walking down memory lane for myself and just thinking about all the places I've been, all the places I've seen. You did such a great podcast recently with Eric Nichols, who rural principal. And as I was listening to that, I was thinking, man, Jen, we've been in so many crazy places, cities and countrysides and suburban schools and rural places and large campuses and tiny ones. And, but there's probably some common lessons that we've come across working with leaders. So, let me let you walk down a little bit of memory lane since you've left that role and supported principals, before I jump into some of the things I want to pull out from lessons I've learned.
Yes. I always tell people the principal role is my jam. That's what I love. That's what I love talking about. That's where I think such a difference is made. And I was 17 years as a building leader, so I've got quite some more time to catch up to being even. Every day that passes, it becomes more and more evident to me how each principal is on their own unique journey, not just their own professional journey, but their school is on a unique journey too. And so as we work with these leaders, Will, I think there are some lessons we've taken away. So why don't you start us off? You've written a little bit about this.
First of all, thank you for correcting my math, because I have not equaled the number of years I've been out of the principalship yet. I guess maybe it feels that way, but you're right. But when I made the transition from principal to state executive director in Oklahoma, that was my first time to just spend time out in the field in so many different schools. I put like 30,000 miles on my car that year just visiting schools across the state. And then because of the work of this podcast and the books that I write, the books you write, I know we've had opportunities to go speak at conferences, to be in other school settings, to be invited to retreats, all those different things too. But of all of the things I do, I'm like you, Jen, I don't know of anything I find more joy in than working with school leaders. I mean, I love talking to staff. I love students, but there's something about principals. And I think the reason is because if there's someone within a school setting who can make a tremendous difference, and I know every classroom teacher does for the students that they have, but I'm talking about comprehensively, system-wide, organizationally wide, that school principal, that administrator, that team of leaders, depending on the size of the school, man, they have such a powerful influence. And so one of the first lessons I think I learned whenever someone reaches out to me and they want coaching, or they want me to maybe walk them through some content, or they want me to do my Grow Academy with their teams or whatever, lesson one for me is that most people already have the answers that they need.
Mm.
Even though I can bring perspective and maybe some things they haven't thought about before, or some tools or ideas that they could execute differently, most people just need someone who can listen to them long enough that they can reach some clarity on what they know they want to do. And I think that may be one of the most powerful gifts of being able to coach leaders, is providing them enough space and time to become clear again, when there's so many other competing distractions and demands on their time. So I wanted to start with that lesson. How have you seen that in your work with others?
I think as you were talking, I was actually thinking about the mindset that we use when we lead,
Mm-hmm.
and whether we're leading with fear or confidence,
Mm-hmm.
and how, whatever that answer is, I think it's important to do the thing that happens before that, which is recognize your mindset.
Mm-hmm.
What are the feelings that you're bringing to all of this, and are you in the right headspace? And so I say that because I think most leaders do already know the answer, and they just really like it if somebody else says it to them, and then they're like, okay, that's validation. And they might be doing that because they're leading from fear. They're scared that what they are thinking or what they suspect is the right answer might not be, or it might blow up somehow, or they might get really harsh pushback from their supervisors or their community or whatever. And so they're scared to acknowledge to themselves, hey, I need to lead with confidence here. I know what the right answer is. And so it's actually great for you and I to be able to validate. Supporting leaders is awesome when we say, hey, have you thought about? And they say, yeah, that was actually exactly what I was thinking.
Yeah. No, I'm so glad you said that, because I say way more than I need to, but I'll say it anyway. I've been recording a series of, I've been doing this Grow Your Leadership Academy now with leaders for probably 10 years, because I was doing it all the way back when I was a principal. And so I have like these 9 different sessions of content that I go through. And this week I took some time and I've started recording those, hoping at some point, Jen, to be able to put them all together as a, like, if you want all of these lessons, but you can't get me in the room, here it is.
Right.
And one of the very first sessions, so I was just going through this content a couple of days ago, was on examining your own motivations.
Mhm.
And the exact thing you're saying is something I just heard myself saying a couple of days ago, which is, if you're being motivated by fear, you're going to find yourself making really dangerous decisions. But also, and this may be, I think this speaks to everyone, but especially I'm going to speak to a lot of my guy friends. If you're being motivated by your ego,
Mhm.
that chip on your shoulder, who's boss, quote unquote, and
Mhm.
I think that applies to lots of people, not just
Mhm.
guys, but I have seen that also lead people to really destructive decisions.
Right.
And so I'm glad you said that, because when it comes back to what is it that's the core of what you know is best for the outcomes of this community, I call it the magic wand question. If you could wave your magic wand and have the outcome you really want to see happen here, what would that look like? Then you have clarity again, because you can see like, oh, this is the decision that's going to lead us towards that kind of outcome.
You
And
know, teenagers have a wonderful phrase right now. Living with teenagers, I get to be part of that. One of them is, you already know. So if I say to my daughter, "Oh my gosh, that sandwich you made looks great." She's like, "You already know." I think that with principals too. Like if they call for advice, or they want to hear somebody validate what they're, you already know. So
oh my
there you
gosh,
go.
I'm laughing because recently on this podcast, when Emily edits our show, she'll take sound bites and she'll
Yeah.
put them out on LinkedIn or YouTube or whatever. And I'm guaranteeing that one's going to be
You
Jen
already
Schwanke saying,
know.
"You already know," is going to be a sound bite that comes out. Well, here's lesson number 2, Jen, as I've thought about lessons I've learned from coaching others. And that is that leaders often feel very isolated. Um, and there's something wonderful about giving them the gift of confidence in someone whom they can trust, who's sometimes a third party to
Mhm.
the conflict that they're wrapped up in at the time. Um, man, I, I've seen this for years, but it just lately it has especially come home to me because I've had several conversations with leaders who've reached out to me who are just facing really hard decisions, whether it's with a team member, whether it's personnel, whether it's student discipline, whether it's with their board. And there's no one else that's feeling the crucible of pressure like they are
Mhm.
in those moments. And I think sometimes we just forget how lonely that feels,
Mhm.
but how important it is for that person to be reminded you're not alone.
Right.
You are not alone in this decision. There are other people that you can trust and lean into. Yes, you may have to be alone in making it, but there are lots of important decisions that you can make that if you convince yourself you're isolated, then you're also maybe setting yourself up for a lot of additional conflict and pain and suffering that you wouldn't have to experience if you could lean into other people you trust. So let me let you think about that too.
Well, I'm gonna jump in with a caveat.
Mhm.
I agree with you very much, but there is a caveat, and actually, it's funny because I'm actually writing about this in my newsletter that will come out tomorrow.
Good.
I have a friend who's an assistant principal, and she lost her job last week. Didn't see it coming, had no idea what in the world. She got called in, and her principal, who she thought was someone she could very, very much trust, to the point where she shared thoughts and inner ruminations and also things about her personal life that were then used as evidence that she couldn't make strong decisions, that she was wishy-washy, that she was
Mhm.
gossipy, so the person you trust needs to be thought out very carefully, and it should probably never be a supervisor. Because
Mhm.
if you are too vulnerable, or you are presenting yourself as someone who needs a crutch, it might not work well for you. So I think what you're saying, well, I'm saying the same thing
Mhm.
you are. Make sure that person that you're reaching out to is a colleague, is someone that you truly can trust, and don't give them ammunition to maybe use it against you later. So I'm trying to be vague because I don't want to give this person's story too
Yeah.
much. Um, but Will, you and I, we have a lot of colleagues we trust who don't work in the same place,
Yeah.
who are live in different states,
Yeah.
and they are so good to talk to because there's no competition, there's no supervision,
Yeah.
there's no evaluation coming. So,
Yeah. Well, and now I'm just going to be really upfront with leaders that uh, when I'm having these conversations, one of my hopes is somebody listening out there will reach out to you or me and invite us to do some back and forth with them, whether that's just a one-time opportunity or if they want to be like formally coached. But having said that, Jen, your point is exactly that, which is there are trusting relationships that you can have with the people on your own teams. I've worked in some great situations where I could just be as open as you
Mhm,
could imagine with my coworkers. I've been in other situations where I couldn't because that person was somebody who would hold it against you or somebody
mhm,
that would use it as ammunition. But having a third party, someone outside of the situation who meets with you consistently enough to have some context and perspective and can give you some feedback can often provide you with that sense I'm not alone, but I'm also being able to really lean into someone else who isn't going to be evaluating me.
that's right.
So I have a lot of agreements with organizations that hire me to coach their principals, and I'll be really very transparent with them on the front end that if you want me to have a trusting relationship with this person, then you've got to allow me to be able to talk to them in confidence,
That's right.
and because that's so important.
That's right. That's right.
Lesson three that I've seen from coaching leaders is um, and this is a no-brainer because we're all educators, but I want to say it anyway. I have just found that those coaching relationships allow leaders to be challenged in their own thinking and to grow sometimes professionally in ways they wouldn't have otherwise.
Mhm.
And I think I'm just going to be really mean, but I'm doing it for a reason. I think it's shameful that we don't prioritize the professional development of our leaders as much as we do our teachers.
Mhm.
Because how else is a leader going to stay motivated to create a learning environment if he or she is also not given the opportunity to keep learning too? And so, whether that's an opportunity for them to go to a professional conference or buy the great books that they know will help them in their own growth, or join a principals association, or engage in coaching with someone like you or me, or you fill in the blank. There's so many different ways you can grow professionally. To take another advanced degree and the district pay for it. I'm just throwing out all these ideas, Jen, because whenever leaders grow, they're modeling the exact same thing that they're trying to see their teachers and students experience in their schools. And so I think coaching gives an opportunity for that kind of growth to happen.
And I think you have to advocate for it. I think you have to say, this is really important to me, because I've seen this over and over and over. There's a belief out there that principals already know everything.
Mm-hmm.
And so, the school treasurer might be really tight with the purse strings about sending a principal to an out-of-state conference. Or it might be like, well, why do you need that? And so I think principals need to explain exactly what you just said. I do need it because, first of all, I'm modeling it for my teachers. Second of all, education is changing so fast, and I need to be in the room with those trendsetters and with the new conversations related to instruction and pedagogy and whatever the job is, building a bus fleet. I don't know what, I have to be in the room with where it's all originating, because there is a belief. I've heard it over and over and over again. I got denied for this PD because they said I already have what I need. Oh, well, maybe not.
Yeah. So as we wrap up today's conversation, Jen, I was trying to think of a way to end by giving anyone who's listening a moment of quick coaching. So I wanted to end with a small assessment I like to do, not every time, but often when I'm working with a leader as we're wrapping up. I'll say, hey, let me do a quick assessment with you. And I'd like you, and I've said this before in the show, so for some of you this won't be surprising, but I'm going to ask you, if you're listening, to pretend that you're taking this assessment. And on a scale from 1 to 5, as I say these 4 statements, I want you to give yourself a score for each one, 1 being little or no time, or 5 being much time. Statement 1, this week I have been visible and present with every student, every teacher, every day. How are you doing in your presence? And don't beat yourself up. The goal isn't perfection. The goal is just awareness. How are you doing staying present? 2, this week I have been reading, meditating, or reflecting on helpful books or lessons. And this podcast just counted. So how are you doing taking time to make sure you're growing? 3, this week I have been making healthy choices in my sleep, nutrition, and exercise. How are you doing when it comes to taking care of you so you can show up full to take care of others? And 4, because we forget this one a lot, this week I have been faithful to those I love with my time and attention. How are you doing staying connected to those people that love you the most? Because they don't really care if you caught up on all your emails. They just want to know you love them. So if you want to pause and write down your number, I don't know, Jim, were you doing the math?
5, 10, 15, 20. 20. I mean, I wasn't doing the exercise. I was just listening to you explain it. I'm not
Yeah.
Math.
Well, if anyone's listening and you're doing the math, I just want to encourage you, as we wrap up this week's Monday Matters, just 3 things that I want to say in closing. A lot of times you know the answer. You just need someone to remind you of what that motivation is. A lot of times you feel alone. You're not. There are people out there who can reflect with you, and you should be reflecting with someone with whom you can trust. And 3, you deserve to grow. So whatever that looks like for you, listening to this podcast, reading a great book, reaching out for coaching and PD opportunities, whatever that looks like, I hope you take advantage of it. So Jen, how can our listeners stay connected with you and your wonderful resources?
Yep, they can find me at jenschwanke.com, and there they can either subscribe to my weekly newsletter or send me an email.
You better sign up for that weekly newsletter or you're missing out. Principal Problems is such a great newsletter, and you can reach out for all of the resources from our podcast, our show notes, our 480-something episodes at williamdparker.com. But until next time, thanks for doing what matters, and we'll see you soon. Thank you for listening to today's episode of Principal Matters, the School Leaders Podcast. If you enjoyed the show, would you take a moment and like, share, subscribe, or leave us a review? In fact, if you share it out with a friend, even more people can become a part of these conversations. Sign up for our newsletter at williamdparker.com for even more free resources. And don't forget to check out our website to learn more about our books, professional development offerings, Grow Academies, masterminds, executive coaching, and keynote presentations. Wow. Let's keep learning together. And thank you for doing what matters.
Monday Matters.